Hello there, my adorable internet and fantastic creatures of the beyond. Hope you're doing all fantastic today. I have finished the freaking thing. So this is what we are left with. And we'll go through some things very fast. Now, let's see. We have some really cool things left here. So I've worked a bit on the planet and I've given it this halo, and then I've given it a bit of a reflection here on this side. I didn't do anything crazy, I just kept it simple. I thought it looked awesome for some reason, like a lone star with a lone planet, and the planet really looks menacing and imposing, and this jet of hot stream is like super huge in comparison to the planet. So I don't know, the scene really looks titanic, and we have to also put this in contrast with the cold background. And right now the background doesn't look too fancy, let's call it that, but I have done some things for the background to improve it. So let's see. In this background I have tested, for example, with a vignette. No, pass. Then I've tried this, which looks a bit better, but I felt like it's not there yet. And so I have decided to go with something a bit more interesting, like so. Now, I will show you something interesting in a moment related to this, but first let me show you, I have an effect here, and this better makes it pop it up. I've added some film grain on it. Now, the interesting thing about this gradient is that you can see, let me see first of all if it's enabled or not. Okay, it's not. So let me get the right thing. Okay, so right now we can see these stretch marks over here because this is a radial background, so we can see these stripes. I don't know if YouTube is going to show them correctly, but hopefully yes, because YouTube loves to compress the video, and regardless of what I'm gonna do, probably YouTube is not gonna display them correctly, but trust me, it works. So it's very difficult to notice, but I'm gonna disable the smooth gradient. So now you see these things are very sharp here, and when I enable the smooth gradient, these things become smoother. I don't know, probably YouTube is not gonna help me on this, but when you're gonna download and open the file, you're gonna see the difference. So I have applied this smooth gradient on this background here. So this is kind of my own recipe, and it's kind of a silly thing how I did it. Weirdly enough, I'm missing something here. I think it didn't save. Let me test. Okay. Yeah, it's not helping though. I mean, it does help to some degree, but let's see. Okay, so I've added the turbulence. I maxed it out with fractal noise. Then I did a displacement map with, and I set the X and Y to red and blue. This works best for me in this case. And again, I went with the scale maximum. I applied this node to the turbulence and this node to the source. Then I've added a Gaussian blur in between the composite and displacement map. And again, I've maxed it out to 100. Oh, this one is kind of optional, but it does smooth things out a bit. And it makes the gradient look just a bit more normal. And then I did a composite between everything that's above and the smooth, the source graphic, and I set it to a top. So I'll show you the difference. So this is with the color banding. Again, YouTube might not help me much, but as you can see, these stretchings are happening here. If I go to the next one, the stretchings are gone and the gradient is better displayed, but this is a compressed DPI because I'm at... This is 1920 by 1080p, and so is this one. And you might notice that this line is kind of jagged because of this. But then I went with 96p, so I kept the smoothing quite constant. And then this line is far more elegant here. It's much more clear. Obviously, and I tried this one, but this one is a bit of a test. So this one is 1920 by 1080 with 2 megabytes. So this is without the smoothing. This is with the smoothing at 1920 by 1080, and this is at 96 dpi, which is 9792 by 5500.08. But it's also bigger, it's 51 megabytes. So clearly, depending on what you want, probably you would want for print ready kind of like 300 dpi. And I recommend that when you export, let me just select the correct thing. I recommend that you leave the physical DPI to 0. This one is not really impacting anything too crazy. And go with RGB8 and the default compression. You can do some juggling here, but it's kind of hit or miss with these ones. I mean, the default is quite okay. And if you want to go with 300, do a calculation here before you start compositing how big you want your image. I initially didn't go with size, so I've modified things here eventually for the export. But more or less, think ahead the dimensions you want to work with on 300 dpi. Okay, with that out of the way, I've also added a bit of a few stars inside. I wanted to to look more like a reflection, so I don't know if they're very visible because they're kind of blurred. But I wanted to make it sort of like between a black star and a black hole, so the reflection is there. I don't know, it looked quite interesting and it gave it a bit more volume and mass and density. Looks really nice. And also on this side, I've, well, let me try to remove the effect because the film grain is getting a bit in the way. So here I've went with a gradient that goes from this bright orange, well, it's kind of desaturated as well, towards a reddish orange, and then it transforms into a vapor, and this is kind of something in between violet and or magenta and blue, somewhere like there. And that really feels like it's dissipating the further it goes, and it gives this contrast between hot and cold. And everything is kind of shaped in this dome-like shape, or sort of like elliptical shape. I don't know. It looks interesting in my opinion. and we have these hotspots as well, so it's interesting. I don't know, it gives this isolation effect, but also this really hot spot, and then everything is just cooling out because this gradient is also going towards the darker areas here, so we're keeping the focal point here. All in all, I think it's quite nice. I'm happy with the result, and hope you guys like it as well. I'm gonna put it on the drive. You can download it, destroy it, make it your own, invent new ways to create art, and I hope it's gonna be cool. Okay guys, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye 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 bye.